I've always been a bit of a control freak. I like being organised, having to-do lists, making plans, having a clear vision, and executing things perfectly. If you ask me what my biggest pet peeve was, I tell you that it's when people are late, because I feel like it disrupts plans, and I hate it when things don't go to plan. I'm one of those people that make an itinerary every time they go on a holiday. I was one of those people that laminated my books at school and colour-coded my calendar. I carried a planner with me everywhere I went. I've lived in the future for most of my life, planning and trying to make sure that what I wanted actually happened. I mean, what could be better than that? Well, maybe not getting what I wanted. I want to talk to you about something that I want to work on, or something that I have been trying to work on for the past 2 years, and that's letting go of my need to try and plan and control everything. It's not even just a case that I want to be a bit more calm and less neurotic, because I do think that would be better for my well-being, but also lately I've just been thinking that maybe there's a better life to be lived if we were to embrace the uncertainty and the unknown. Like, maybe it's the things that we can't plan for in life which are way more significant and more meaningful and will contribute to our happiness way more. There's that quote which says, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans, and I feel like I've only just begun to understand what that actually means and why that's so important. When I look back at my life and look at all of the best moments that have happened in my life as a result of a plan, to be honest with you, they're things that I no longer want. So for example, I wanted to be top of my class, I wanted to go to university in London, and I wanted to qualify as a dentist, and I managed to do all of those things, and at the time I was on cloud 9. I was so happy, but I just felt like they didn't really have a lasting impact on me. I mean, now I don't even want to be a dentist anymore. But when I compare that to the things that have been the best moments of my life as a result of no plan or plans going wrong, they're actually the things that have been way more significant to me and have had a really lasting impact on what my life has become. So for example, my husband, he is not somebody that I planned for at all. He's actually a few months younger than me, and when I was younger, I said I would never date anyone younger than me, no matter what the age gap was. And if I'm honest with you, the only reason I went on a date with my husband was because my friend told me that he did a gap year, so I assumed that he was a year older than me. If I knew he was younger than me, to be honest with you, I think I would have been so narrow-minded and a bit stuck up to have said no. I also stupidly said that I only wanted to date someone who was an elder sibling. I know, I don't know why I came up with these stupid rules. It's a shocker that I managed to date at all, let alone find someone to marry me. But I just thought that maybe the elder sibling would be more responsible. I've always liked the idea of elder siblings being quite protective of their younger siblings. So I just thought it would be great to date this older sibling kind of guy. And again, my husband is not the eldest, and I'm just so grateful that that did not go to plan, because it was a stupid rule to start off with. But I just think my younger self was so rigid in having these plans. I just feel like there's just so much around the corner that we can't predict, but maybe that's better for us. Like, I just remember my 18-year-old self crying over a guy and this really toxic relationship that I was in, and she would be so relieved now to know that I'm with a nice guy. My 21-year-old self was just heartbroken that I had no friends and was trying really hard to just focus on myself, and she would be so glad now to know that I do have some really good girlfriends in my life. And then there's the 24-year-old me, the girl who just qualified as a dentist. I think she would be absolutely shocked to know that I was leaving dentistry after just 5 years of qualifying. But this is the thing, when we're younger, we can't predict what's going to happen to us. And at the time, we want things and we just can't really see how, if things weren't to go to plan, how they would actually be better for us. And that's definitely what I've experienced in my life. Like, 28-year-old me is now really happy and starting to embrace the fact that plans not going to plan is actually a good thing. Serendipity is all about happy, unplanned discoveries. It's when you find good things without actually having to go look for them. And the thing about serendipity is it's not even just about chance encounters that can affect our personal lives or lucky events like finding a £10 note on the floor, but also society can change as a result of coincidences or happy accidents. So for example, there's this pharmacist called Dr. Pemberton who was trying to create this caffeinated alcoholic drink to help people with drug addiction. But then Prohibition hit and he had to take the alcohol content out of his drink, and that's how Coca-Cola was made. Dr. Silver was trying to create this really strong adhesive, but he failed, and he ended up making this really weak glue which didn't really stick together with things very well, but that contributed to making post-it notes. I know for me personally, when things don't go to plan, I really struggle to adapt. I get really frustrated, I get really anxious at not knowing what's coming next, and I get really frustrated that things aren't going my way. And I think this is really common, right? Like, I feel like our society as a whole is pretty obsessed with things like goals and vision boards and having this dream life. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I do all of those things, but I think the problem is when we become so attached to our plans and so attached to this vision that we have of our own lives that we can't open our eyes up to what's outside of that. So right now, I'm really trying to be a bit more fluid and go with the flow, because the problem is if you're looking at your plan too much, you might miss something else, and that's what I don't want. Like, I want life to present more to me than what I can see. Have you ever listened to a piece of music or watched a movie and been really moved by it? You connect with it on such a deep emotional level, almost as if your soul has transcended beyond anything we can understand. I don't believe that music or movies like this could exist if life was as simple as having structure and plans. If our lives were just so mechanical that we could anticipate everything that was going to happen, there'd be no stories to tell, there'd be no emotions to convey, there'd just be no meaning or depth. I feel like the reason that we connect to stories and music so much is because we can understand that spectrum of human emotion, right? There's hope, there's love, there's loss, there's feelings of nostalgia, of gut-wrenching pain, all of it. And I feel like it's that spectrum of human emotion that makes life terrifying, but also electric and meaningful. And that would not exist without having the unknown and having uncertainty and serendipity. If we were to be able to predict everything that was going to happen, that's not a story, that's just a plan, and plans in themselves don't really carry much of humanity in them. So I don't know if this was just a massive ramble, and I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but I just feel like uncertainty and the unknown and even serendipity is what makes life more worthwhile and more meaningful. So I guess this video is a reminder to myself, but also to you guys if you're the same, to stop worrying if you don't know what happens next and just live in the present more. If we try and plan every single step, it means we're going to miss the amazing twists and turns that makes life more exciting. And I do think this is why my younger self felt like she wasn't truly living, because she was trying to control life, but how can you truly be living life if you're trying to control something that's so much bigger than any of us? I do think that our need to try and plan and control things is all about our need for perfectionism, but if we can let that go, if we can embrace uncertainty, it also means that we can embrace all of the things that we can't plan for, and they end up being the things that are more significant and more meaningful. So I definitely do believe in the magic of serendipity. I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and I do feel like if we can stop trying to engineer what lies ahead, it means we can really open ourselves up to the possibilities of tomorrow.